This is me talking to Daryl, a homeless guy living in the streets of southern Utah. I wanted to build him a tiny home that can keep him cool throughout the day and warm at night since Utah has such extreme weather conditions. So I picked up some supplies and started off by gluing waterproof polyboard to sheets of 1-inch insulation. And I love using insulation to build these tiny homes because it helps regulate temperature and it's super lightweight. I built the frame to this tiny home by using 2x3s for the border of it and 2x2s for the inside beams to help keep this thing nice and lightweight. Once I finished putting the frame together, I set it aside and started to cut out the subfloor. This tiny home will be 32 inches wide by 6 feet long on the inside, which will give Daryl plenty of space to move around since he's 5'9". Our previous build only had 2 wheels, which made it hard to keep it stable while you sleep inside of it, so we chose to build this one a little different by adding 4 wheels, something like a wagon. These are 7-inch wheels that we picked up at Harbor Freight for $15 a piece, and we installed them onto the frame using 1.5-inch pocket hole screws and some washers. Once we finished putting the wheels onto the frame, we had to give it a little test drive because who doesn't like to have fun? We then had some trim pieces and some vents that we wanted to paint the same color because we wanted to give this tiny home a nice aesthetic and they needed time to dry. So we painted them and set them to the side to dry while we finished building the rest of the tiny home. So the next step is to cut out the foam pieces that we glued to the poly wall because these will work as the walls to the tiny home. Now that the walls are put up, we had to build some rafters. And they're basically triangles that are designed to hold up the roof covering. And since we need a super lightweight tiny home, we built ours using 1x2-inch wooden slats. We then pocket holed and nail gunned them to the wall supports, then ran a 6-foot beam from end to end to give this tiny home a little more structure. We then cut out 1/2-inch insulation and taped it onto the rafters before cutting out the roof that we would be screwing through the insulation and into the rafters. Now that the roof is all put together, it was time to install the solar panel. And we spaced apart the rafters the exact distance of the solar panel so we can screw it into a beam. And we'll hook it up to the battery later on in the video. But the next step was to screw some more 2x2s to the border of the entrance because this will work as the frame for the door. I then measured and cut out a hole on each side of the tiny home to be able to install these little vents that open and close. We then found a pallet and figured it was a good idea to use it as some more trim pieces for the outside of this tiny home and the front door. So I started to take it apart with a hammer, but it was too much work, so I just took a shortcut. But while I finish the front door, be sure to click that subscribe button because this is the 3rd tiny home we've been able to give away, and it's only possible because of all the donations we've got on our GoFundMe page. 100% of all the money is going to go to people in need, so if you guys want to donate, the link is in the description. Now that we have the door put onto the tiny home, it was time to install the trim pieces that we spray painted in the beginning of the video. We used adhesive and screws to put them onto the tiny home, and this will trim out all the edges to give it a better aesthetic. But then I got lazy and decided to take a break, and my wife had to call me back into action, but it was a break well deserved. I then installed some shelves using some of the wood from the pallets, then used the remainder to cover up the rest of the tiny home. And I feel like the pallets gave it a little bit of a barn look, but I like it. But the next step was to set up the electrical system. So we picked up an inverter, a battery, and a solar controller. We ended up reaching out to LITIME to see if they can send us one of their batteries. Because these are the same lithium batteries we use in our camper van, and they work great, not only for RVs and camper vans, but for boats as well. And the way this electrical system will work is by using a solar panel to convert the power from the sun into voltage, which will run through the solar controller to regulate the voltage, in turn charging the battery so Daryl can have some power. I'm gonna put their link in the description below because I support companies that want to help our community. So thank you LITIME for sending us this battery. It'll definitely be put to good use. And I know I'm gonna get some comments saying that I didn't use a fuse for the inverter, but this is a super small system and the inverter already comes with a built-in fuse. But I then finished up hooking up the solar panel and made sure it was charging. Then it was time to install the inverter, which was super easy to install. Then I turned it on to make sure it would work. And just like that, we have power. Now that the electrical system's all finished up, I did some last touches and installed the handle to be able to pull this trailer, while Hope took a trip to Walmart to pick up some things for Daryl. So Hope is finally back from Walmart, and she got him a bunch of things like a blanket, pots and pans, a little cooktop, and a bunch of food. Alright guys, so Daryl's on his way. I'm freaking excited. Can't wait to give this to him. Let's see how he likes it.
Oh, wow. Oh, this is tight. I can't stand up in this.
Got you a battery with a inverter. The solar charges the battery, and you can turn the inverter on so you can charge your phone, stuff like that. Some granola bars. Little pots and pans for camping. It's like a little stove that you can connect to a propane tank, and you can cook and stuff.
Right.
I got you a Bluetooth speaker.
Oh, for sure, that's what's up.
Some food. This is all filled up with a bunch of food, like, you know, the propane tank is in there.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey, God bless you, man.
God bless you too. I want to thank God for allowing this man to come into my life and the camera lady, because it really was a blessing. You know what I mean? And hopefully this is it right here. This is my it's gonna start with this.
All right, bro. Here's the keys to your new house.
Yeah, you're doing it up, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And yeah, I'm gonna go back my car, go to my house. What's your camera?